Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we are actually in round 9. They just finished round 9 of the U.S. Chess Championships. And I have a few games I want to show you guys from round 7, 8, and 9. So I'm just kind of picking a game out of each round. And so the game I want to show you guys right now is between, try not to mess this guy's name up, Elshan Moradi Abadi with the white pieces and Wesley So with the black pieces. Now, as you guys know, Wesley So's been kind of killing everything and everybody in his way at this championships. And you know, he drew, I think it was round 6, 5, 6, something like that. But he was winning pretty much all the other games he's played. He's having a very good showing at this U.S. Championships. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and take a look at the game. But right before I do that, I changed my chess legend down below. And so it's the great Garry Kasparov, born 1963, world chess champion, 85 to 93. And then, you know, they had that kind of little FIDE split back in 93 when Kasparov created the Professional Chess Association. You know, he continued to be world champion from 1993 all the way till 2000. But, you know, from 84 basically to 2004, he was the #1 ranked chess player in the world, which is the longest anybody's ever been the #1 chess player. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and take a look at this game, see what we got. All right, make sure I click this right. Bam. All right, so we have knight to f3. All right, knight to f6. All right, so we have c4. So we started off with a ready. Now we're kind of in we're in an English type of situation here. We got e6, g3. All right, so we have d5. So now we're in the English Neo-Catalan. All right, so bishop to g2, d4. Already kind of you know, pushing down on white space here. You see you know, that d4 pawn kind of getting, you know, into white's territory there. All right, so we have castles. c5, just solidifying that d4 square, that d4 pawn. So we got e3. You know, trying to see if we can't try to chip away at that strong center, pawn in the throat. All right, so we have knight to c6. Just double it, you know, double defending that pawn that's on d4, trying to make sure we continue to have our space as black. All right, so we have E takes d4. Then we have c takes d4, d3. So already, as you guys can see, white is in a pretty cramped position already. You know, d3 is not really ever a move you want to make. You know, you really want to get your pawn to d4. You know, your pawns to d4 and e4, or you know, even c4, maybe f4 in some cases and stuff. And you know, so you see that white doesn't have a lot of options in these types of positions here when you have your pawns in kind of cramped. It's kind of like, you know, when, you know, if I have any French defense players out there, it's kind of similar to that. You know how, you know, you'll move e6 and then maybe d5, and you know, you're having to, you know, try to deal with the cramped structure. But so let's go ahead and keep it moving here. All right, so we have bishop to d6, nice developing move. All right, bishop to g5. Let's pin that knight down. All right, so we have h6. All right, b takes f6, queen takes f6. All right, we move 10. All right, cool. All right, so we have a3, a5. All right, knight b to d2. Just getting fully developed here. So now we only have the queen to move for white to get us into a complete developmental state. But basically, when you're developing all your pieces, you're pushing your central pawns. You have your king castled and your rooks touch. That is generally considered the completion of your opening. Now, you know, each side can get to their, you know, the end of their openings at different points. But if we're comparing white's position right now to black's position, you'll see that black still needs the castle, also need to develop their bishop on c8 there. And get their rooks connected. So there are a couple. It kind of seems like there are a couple steps behind, you know, white here. All right, so we have queen back to e7, or not, just queen initially to e7. All right, so rook a to c1. We have castles for black. rook to e1, and we have a4. Now, something I want to draw you guys' attention to is this structure here. So, as you guys know from the videos I made on, I call it pawn freeze. It's actually something I got from a book, but it's basically when one pawn has the ability to freeze two. So in the top right-hand corner, I'll be putting the link to that video in a card. You know, like a little drop-down menu, so that way, if you're not familiar with the concept of one pawn freezing two or three, you know, you'll be able to, you know, take a look at that and get, you know, knowledgeable on, you know, what that concept is. But I want you to remember this structure because it's going to become very relevant later. All right, so we have queen to c2. All right, so we have rook to d8. And now with rook to d8, we are in a completely brand new position. This position has never been reached before. As you can kind of see, you know, with, like I said, with the pawns over here, and you know, the situation here with d3 c4, it's a very unique position. This is definitely not a position that you just always, you know, come to. All right, yeah. All right, so we have knight to e4, just attacking that bishop, asking it what it wants to do. All right, so we have bishop back to c7. So instead of trading it off, you know, black wants to keep that bishop. All right, so we have c5. All right, bishop to d7. So we finally got that bishop into play. And so when you look at the position now, you know, black and white, they're pretty equal. As far as, you know, making sure that they're castled, making sure their rooks are connected. Same thing for black. So it's, you know, it's fairly even. You can't really too much say one side is severely better than the other. You can definitely say that black is in a superior position. In a couple of moves, I'll be able to show you guys exactly why. All right, so we have knight f to d2. All right, so we have knight to a5. And like I said before, guys, you know, usually a knight on the rim is grim, but when you look at these games, they're usually not there for very long. And so we're going to be moving it just in a few. All right, so we have knight to c4. You know, hoping that, you know, black trades that knight, because you have this knight here that is inferior to this knight. And so just to kind of create some space, you know, you're wanting black to try to trade that off. But like I said before, you want to stay away from just automatic piece trades. If you do trade pieces, you want it to mean something. You know, you want it to benefit you in some kind of way. You know, you definitely don't want to just be trading pieces just to trade a piece just because for the sake of doing it. And so, you know, a lot of people have the habit of just trading a piece just automatically because it's just available to be traded. But I want you guys to think exactly, you know, what are you getting if you trade this piece down? You know, are you getting more active other pieces? Are you freeing yourself from maybe a cramped position? And one of the things when you are in more cramped position, you know, trading down does usually end up benefiting you. So as you can imagine, as black, who has a little bit more space than white, is not going to want to try to go into any of those trades. All right, so we have knight to b3. Now, like I said before, guys, when I was talking about this structure here, and you'll remember in, you know, my videos that I made yesterday, when you're making pawn pushes, especially when you have knights or a knight, you're wanting to try to create what we call outposts for the knight. And so if you notice, this knight is beautifully placed right there, like nudged in that square. And, you know, that was made possible by moving this pawn first to a5 and then to a4. And so, like I said, guys, keep that structure in mind because it's going to be something I'm going to be mentioning way later as well. So, you know, it definitely has in-game implications and stuff. So, and if you just notice right here, with this knight move, it's attacking this rook. It's also attacking this bishop, this pawn on c5, and then the queen is also attacking this too. So there are a lot of different reasons why you know black didn't want to just trade that knight off for white's knight, because you know you definitely don't want to help your opponent better their position, because then you'll lose the game. All right, so we have knight e to d6, and so. Some of you guys might be sitting there wondering, okay, well, I mean, this rook is under fire here, right? You know, and so it's like, why would I move the knight and not take care of this rook, because I mean the rook is more valuable than the knight. In this particular position, if we just back up just one move, let's say for example we were to move the rook here. Like I said before, you know, you have the issue of this pawn being attacked by the queen and the knight as well. And so you know, and it's only being defended one time. Of course, you know, you have the ability to maybe move, you know, another piece out of the way. So let's say, for example, you know, you move the rook over. This bishop comes down and says, hey, I want to attack that knight. I'm trying to remove this defender, right? You might be thinking, okay, well, I mean, why don't I just, you know, let me move this knight here. And then that way, you know, I've kind of like, I'm getting connected here. The queen is disconnected. You know, I have my knight protecting. I mean, if this bishop takes, I can take back. Not trying to confuse you guys with all the arrows. But see, the problem that you have is actually this move here. And so now you're in a position where, you know, this knight is attacked 3 different times. And, you know, if you don't want to lose the knight, you're going to have to move this other knight somewhere else. And unfortunately, there's not a lot. You know, there's not a lot of spots that this knight can actually go to. So, back up here. Bam. All right, so we have Abadi has just said, okay, you know what, like, I mean, I'm gonna lose this rook. You know, if he decides to take it, I have to try to uncoil my position a little bit. So let me just go ahead and go knight e to d6. All right, so knight takes on c1. We have queen takes on c1. Bishop takes on d6, and we have pawn takes on d6. All right, so we have queen to f5, offering a queen trade. And like I said before, when you're thinking about making a trade, you have to be thinking like, you know, what am I going to be getting in this particular position? And let me see. In this particular position, f4 is going to be a better option for you. You don't, like I said, you don't want to just trade pieces just for the sake of trading pieces. You want to get something out of it. And so, unfortunately, in this particular situation, you have a situation where you are down in exchange. And so, if you did trade the queens down, you get into a somewhat unfavorable endgame. Once the pieces are traded, you might be able to win a pawn, something like that. But then you also have, you know, a rook come into this. You know, you've kind of opened up the file for the rooks to come in and stuff like that. So you're not going to be getting as much as you're going to be giving in this type of a trade. All right, so we have queen to c5, you know, kind of indirectly here trying to set up some type of, you know, possible discovery if, you know, this pawn is ever able to push. So that's never a bad thing to try to do. All right, so bishop takes on b7, snapping the pawn off. And like I said before, you know, the rook comes over and, you know, it's putting a lot of pressure on this half open file here. All right, so we have a little in-betweener here, Zwischenzug move. Instead of moving the bishop immediately, we want to go ahead and attack the queen real quick. All right, so the bishop comes back, trying to, you know, keep the bishop in a central square, not just retreating it all the way back to the, you know, the underside, you know, the underside of the board here. All right, and so we have bishop to b5 as black. Now this is kind of an issue in this particular position because let's see that. Okay, in this particular position, because you know, you have this pawn here that's only defended by this knight, and so black basically just made a completely direct threat of just removing that defender all the way and just winning this pawn. And like I said before, anytime you have situations where, you know, you're going to be trading material, you want it to be beneficial for you, but it's not going to be beneficial in this particular case because, you know, you are down in exchange. And so any end game in this particular position, even if you're like up a pawn, is going to benefit black. So you definitely don't want to, you know, trade down into an end game at this point. Let me take that off. Bam. All right, so we have f5, just opening up the queen here on this diagonal and seeing what we can do. So we have trades, and so we have queen to f4. All right, so for those of you that want to go ahead and stop the video real quick and just kind of see if you're black, what would you do in this particular position? You know, you have a couple different options. You know, you can remove the knight, like I said before, take that pawn. You can, you know, take the bishop with the pawn right here, you know, via this. Like, what would you play in this position here? If you want to go ahead and stop the video for a second, like I said, catch up with us in a second. We'll be waiting for you. And now for those of you that want to go ahead and, you know, just move right on along, let's go ahead and roll. Now for everybody that stopped the video and is back, now that we're all good and everybody's in the same point, let's go ahead and just talk about the position here. And so for those of you that said, hey man, you know what? Okay, so you can take the knight, but I'm gonna have to give my bishop away for the knight. But it looks like, man, I can just take this bishop right here with this pawn. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that type of a variation would look like. All right, so we have, you know, f takes e4. So it's like, okay, cool. We just won a piece. They only have 3 pieces. I have 4 pieces. Like, I'm doing good. You know, like I didn't have to sacrifice my bishop, or not sacrifice, but I didn't have to give my bishop up for the knight. I just got a free piece, right? Well, see, the problem in this particular position is, and I'm always telling you guys this here, is this tender square here on f7. Now, what move do you think would exploit this queen being able to attack this square on f7, right? And it's this move here, rook to e7. So now you have a very huge problem on your hands as black. This queen is attacking this square, and then of course, if it was to be able to take here with check, king would move over, and then you deliver checkmate here on g7. But what do? You know, there's really nowhere to move. And I mean, you kind of have to give the queen up, you know, for the rook to prevent checkmate. Because, you know, of course, if you don't do something like that, I mean, the queen is just gone. So that's a very real issue. So let's go ahead and just back up real quick to this point back in the game. And so the thing that So did in this position, he went ahead and traded the bishop for the knight. All right, so we have another Zwischenzug move. Queen takes f5. You know, of course, threatening mate in 2 with a queen here, king over, and then king up. And so, you know, we have to parry that threat. So we got g6, and we have queen to f6. Now, like I said before, you know, we have the threat of rook to e7 on the board. So with this move, queen to f6, you know, that's live. So we have to sidestep that. We have to get away from that. And so we go queen to b6. Now, queen to b6 is doing everything that you need for it to do. It's getting the queen off of that rank, making sure there's no attacks with tempo, and you know, everything has the ability to be defended, because now rook to f8 actually works as a defense. All right, so we have the pawn takes c4. We have rook takes c4. So instead of pushing a pawn first, we have another Zwischenzug move to go ahead and attack the queen. And so the queen retreats back to f4. All right, so we push the pawn to d3 now with check. And so, you know, of course, you can move a piece in the way, like maybe queen f2, something like that. You can move the king up, move the king to the side, something like that. But, you know, you have a real problem in this d3 pawn. You know, the d3 pawn is about two moves away from a touchdown. So you definitely don't want it to score. And so we go ahead and try to block that with c5. And then we have d2. And it is actually in this position that Abadi resigns. Because basically this position here, like I said before, you have this pawn about to hit, you know, the end zone and turn into a, you know, we call pawns baby queens. It's gonna go from a baby queen to a queen. And so, you know, you don't really have any way to really stop it. You know, you can always take with the queen and stop it. I mean, but then you have, you know, rook takes, and then you have taking queen here, and then you have rook takes b6. And as you guys can see, something I talked about earlier is the fact that now as black, you have a completely won endgame. The major problem that you have in this particular position here is the fact that this rook or this rook is taking this pawn, and this bishop doesn't really have anything it can do about it. Because since it's a light square bishop, it doesn't have any influence on the dark squares. So it doesn't have anything it can really do. And I want to bring you guys' attention back to what I had mentioned before about this pawn move that froze these two pawns. Because in this particular position, even if you do have a move as white, you can't push this b2 pawn. And so that earlier move in the game has in-game, you know, implications and stuff. So Like I said, in the top right hand corner, I'm going to be putting the link to my other video, Pawn Freeze. When it's in my Understanding Pawn series. Not saying you guys are beginners, but it's there's different concepts that I've gone over in different videos and stuff like that. It's possible that not everybody knows all these different concepts and stuff that I went over, and I mean even I don't know everything. And so like I said, I'm going to put that up there so that if any of you are not familiar with that concept, you can check that video out. Also, I have a whole bunch of other, videos, how kings move and how pawns move and stuff. If you want to check those videos out, learn a little bit on, all the different intricacies of pawns and stuff like that, by all means. But I appreciate it, guys. And that is the round 7 game where Wesley So defeated Elshan Moradi Abadi. And go ahead and subscribe and like, guys. I appreciate all the views and all the support I had on my last video. It was truly beautiful for me to wake up and be able to see all the people that watched my video. And leave comments. Let me know what you think. I'm trying to make these analysis the best that I can. I want people to watch my videos and really enjoy the content that I'm bringing, and the analysis that I do, and hopefully it's interactive and you guys kind of feel like you're part of the analysis a little bit and stuff like that. But like I said, leave comments and let me know what you think, or if you have any suggestions on different things that I can do and stuff like that, go ahead and feel free to let me know. All right, I appreciate it, guys. See you next time.